What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Grand Tour. And some little publication in the UK announced that the Grand Tour will not be renewing after the third season. And why is that important? Well, the Grand Tour with Hammond, Clarkson, and May is Top Gear. I mean, it always was Top Gear. And after Clarkson got kicked off of Top Gear, that essentially became the new Top Gear. Amazon picked it up, and now the fact that they're saying they're not renewing it after the fourth season, there's a bunch of stuff that you have to keep in mind to put this in perspective. One, we don't know what the original contract was for. The original contract may have been for 3 seasons. So if that's the case, them not having a confirmed fourth season at this point in time isn't really a big deal. You sort of have to take it with a grain of salt. But if they did decide to not renew it, that brings up a whole nother conversation is, should it continue? It's run its course. Objectively, it's definitely run its course. And Amazon owns the Grand Tour. Or I would presume Amazon owns the Grand Tour. I'm not the lawyer that drew up the paperwork, but let's just assume Amazon owned the Grand Tour. Top Gear and the Grand Tour are the same thing. The Grand Tour was a slightly modified version of Top Gear to make it not result in a lawsuit. How many times are you going to sort of rejigger the same thing to keep it going? And it's not a money thing at this point in time between Hammond, Clarkson, and May. They've made more than enough money doing this series to never essentially have to work again. Plus, they can get a whole bunch of other gigs that are essentially, I don't want to say less restrictive, but they can get a bunch of other gigs that they can all find their own way and not be locked into this specific show. People enjoy it. I'm not going to say I don't. I haven't watched since episode 3 on the second season. I'll catch up eventually, but it wasn't, and Top Gear never was to me, a show where I would sit there and go through and watch like everything that comes out in every minute of every episode. 70% of it's pretty boring, but the 30% that they hit on, the Vietnam specials and the building car boats and everything like that, that stuff is such gold, it makes everything else worth it. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know whether they're going to revive it, not revive it. I mean, it's news, but everything like Richard Hammond, for example, is another news story from this morning in the UK, was he went on a date with his wife. And here's what Richard was wearing. Here's what his wife was wearing. How stylish is this? It's like they literally are Kardashian-esque. They're TMZ worthy in the UK. So any rumblings, any nonsense, any noise is going to come to the surface. And media doesn't. I've got firsthand experience. Media has zero interest in being accurate, and they will. You want to be the first to get a story up there, then you get the traction off of it. And then what happens after that? Oh, you know what? The show isn't really canceled. They signed a third season, and then you get traction off of that. So the media really doesn't give a rat's ass whether or not what they're reporting is accurate. Oh, I heard from a guy. Well, who's the guy? It doesn't really matter. Just post it. So I don't know what this means for the Top Gear / Grand Tour. I would hope that if this is it, if they're done after these 3 seasons, that it wouldn't continue on. And when I say wouldn't continue on, just it's cool to sort of go out on top. I think this was a appropriate finale, so to speak. There was a pretty abrupt end to Top Gear. There was a pretty abrupt end to the Top Gear in the UK. This, on the other hand, you have an entire season that has yet to be filmed, the third season, which you can do your swan song, sign off gracefully, and sort of let the rest of the auto world step in. Now, I don't think, it's my opinion, I'm not a big fan of any Top Gear that's not Clarkson, Hammond, and May. I think the format is there, but to call something Top Gear without them, it never really worked in the US. Even in the UK, I've got nothing against Chris Harris or Matt LeBlanc, or I suck with names, or the other guy. I've only seen like half of one episode of that, and it was the one where they were like in the US driving in the dirt, and like, I don't know, it didn't seem too exciting to me. but not so memorable. But honestly, it just, I don't know. I think it's okay to let it go from here. I'm sure the hole will be filled by many other avenues. Now, Netflix initially turned down the show, and I don't know if this is an excuse or a PR excuse. They initially turned down the show, the Grand Tour, before it was whatever it was named at the time, because they said the money that they were looking for the show, it wasn't worth that. Amazon took a chance. I don't know how accurate any of the numbers of the $250 million for the contract were. I don't know anything about that. But they, now even the same publication that dropped this news today, stated that the show has brought in $100 million worth of value to Amazon. Now, Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. You can't argue with that. So there's a good chance that Amazon said, like, you know what, we got our value out of it. We don't need to focus. We don't need to dump this much money into this, where we can take, let's just even say they're spending $100 million on the Grand Tour contract. We could take $10 million shows and get 6 times the reach, 8 times the reach, 10 times the reach. You don't know what it is. So it could just purely be a business decision. Who knows where we go from here? I know if you gave me $2.5 million, I could make a 10-episode series of anything and probably retire after that. So the production value is great and all, but at the end of the day, the Project Car Challenge series that we did, that was filmed for $30,000. So it's as low budget as we could possibly make it, but that just shows that you can make some pretty legit production quality for far less than the 7 figures that most of these other companies seem to require to produce 45 minutes or an hour of content. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'd be interested to see who fills that void. There is always going to be a market for automotive entertainment. I mean, even Jay Leno got involved in doing automotive entertainment after he retired. So there's always going to be a market for it. Who is fulfilling that market? Who is satisfying that demand? I mean, right now it's a combination of YouTube, Grand Tour, Top Gear. I mean, you name it. There's 100 different outlets where you can go watch car entertainment. But to fill in that production television style role, I don't know. I don't know if Hulu, Netflix, that's a funny place to park the car. Hulu, Netflix, Amazon. I don't know who's going to pick up a series, but there's a lot of interesting people out there. I don't know if it's going to be. I've leaned towards that sort of business model. Matt Farah, me, Justin Bell. You've got a bunch of guys out there, the Shmees, the Alejandro Salamandrians, the Vehicle Virgins. There's tons of entertainers in the space, and at a certain point in time, somebody's going to say, you know what, I will chance $1 million on a couple of seasons to see if we could turn it into a $20, $50, $100 million series, because the Grand Tour and even Top Gear, big money series, and there's a lot of brand equity and brand value there that's been created over the years, and somebody else will take the chance on that. I don't know who it is and who's going to fill the shoes, but I'll let you guys throw your thoughts in the comments. I mean, remember, YouTube Red is putting money behind shows. I mean, there's a lot of digital content aggregators, creators, platforms right now that are loving the fresh new content that brings people to the platform. So if you want to post in the comments below your thoughts as to who you'd like to see and what sort of formats, it's great. I mean, it's food for thought. It's not like I'm going to shop the comments section to anybody, but I think there's plenty of success to be had in the automotive entertainment space, as long as there's manufacturers making cool new cars, as long as there's guys trying to set new records and break new barriers with what cars can do and perform, as long as there's fun roads to drive and people that like to drive cars, there will always be space for automotive entertainment. And I don't know, I'm going to be one of the guys that brings it to you in whatever platform that ends up being. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts as to the Grand Tour, if it should just hang the hat now, or if they should continue doing what they're doing and try to stretch it out and shop it around. I don't know. I'm sort of, I don't think there's anything that they haven't covered that they won't be able to cover in the last season. it's not really a money thing right now, and it's cool to go out on top before people just stop sort of watching. And you don't really want to go that route. So I wish them well. I'm interested to see what happens. Again, take the news with a grain of salt, but it's something that people are probably talking about right now, and I wanted to share it with you. So thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. I'll catch you next time.